Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. I came into the plant room last night and the whole room smelled of this sweet perfume, and I noticed my lemon tree is in flower. One of the flowers opened last night and this one just opened today, and oh, does it smell nice. It makes the whole room smell beautiful. I took a small paintbrush and I just brushed it around on the flower to hopefully pollinate, and hopefully I'll get a lemon off of this tree. There's no guarantees it'll set fruit, but we'll try. That's the goal. The tree is growing really well after the last pruning. I've got 3 shoots on the top that are really taking off. So I think I'm going to pinch those back today to get a little more vigor in the lower parts of the tree so it kind of grows out a little more evenly. I'm going to prune this branch coming out front first, so I've got some leaves that fan outwards. So I'm going to prune it off just above there, like that. Oh, it smells good. I've got flowers and that citrus smell. I've got a branch out this side. I've got a leaf that fans out here and one here, so I'll just take the tip off that branch, like that. I'll rotate the tree around to that back branch, right here. I'm going to prune this branch, but I notice there's a little tiny spider up here with a little web, so I'm going to relocate him to another tree. I have a leaf that fans out here and one here, so I'll prune, actually, another one that fans out here, so I'm going to prune just above those, like that. And there's my little spider, so I'll put him on another tree. There, he's relocated. The rest of the shoots on the tree are just starting to emerge, so I think that's good. I'll put it back on the bench. I'll continue the updates on the lemon tree, and we'll see if these flowers develop into fruit. My next update is my Vietnamese style Ficus microcarpa growing in its 3D printed concrete style pot. It's really filling out up top, so let's go in and have a look. There's a look at the canopy of the tree, and you can see it's really filling out. It doesn't have any spots without branches anymore. So yeah, it's coming along really nicely. Up top, there is a few shoots that are taking off, growing faster than the rest of them. So I want to take those back just so the canopy grows out evenly. So I'm just going to take the tip off this shoot right here. And there's one here that I'm going to take it right back. There's an outward facing leaf there. And then there's one up top here I can prune back. And one here. And I think I'll take this one off too. That's kind of equalized the vigor on the tree now. Maybe this one too. Like that. Yeah, so that should do. Now it can grow out a little more evenly. It looks like the sun's coming out today. So there's the tree. It's coming along really nicely. Kind of a miniature Vietnamese style bonsai. The next update is my Ficus microcarpa cutting of a cutting. And last time I repotted it into this larger clay pot. The original pot it was in was a PLA plastic 3D printed pot. It's a biodegradable plastic, and it did biodegrade. It started crumbling after about 3 years and started falling apart. So I put it in this nice, I think it's a Korean clay pot, and I'm going to grow it as a slightly larger tree. So it's been growing and it looks really, really healthy. The leaves are a nice dark green. I'm getting good elongation here. It's really starting to take off. So today I'm just going to do the same. I'm going to balance the vigor, pruning this large vigorous shoot back, just tidying it up a little bit. I'm going to prune this long branch back first, and I've got to decide, well, where am I going to prune it? It has lots of leaves on the branch, so it's a really vigorous branch. When the branch starts out from the base of the trunk, the internodes between the leaves are very short, the distance between the leaves. And then as the branch grows and gains vigor, the leaves start getting larger and the internodes between the leaves start getting larger. So you can see they're quite large at the tip here. So I'm going to prune it back to where the internodes are quite small. And I'm going to use directional pruning. So I think somewhere right here. So here I go. Like that. There's a few other branches that are growing quite long too. I'm just removing a leaf that's pointing upwards here. So there's one here. I can prune this one back to here. It's growing a little long and vigorous. I've got one up top here that's really shooting up. So I'll want to prune the tip off there. I've got one on the top here also that's really vigorous. And I'll just take the tip off that. Just take a bit of vigor out of it. And there's a couple out the back here. There's two branches out the back that are a little strong too. So I'll just take the tips off those also. Like that. This lower branch I want to keep growing strong because it's, you know, naturally a little weaker. And I think the rest look quite fine. Okay, I think that'll do for this tree. The next update is my dwarf Schefflera Bonsai. And you can see the canopy is really starting to fill in now. Looking very tropical. The canopy on this tree is getting quite dense. Perhaps too dense in some areas, so I think I'll be doing some thinning today on it. And the vigor of the tree is fairly even. Most branches are growing in, you know, about the same rate, but there are some shoots that are a little more vigorous than others. So I don't want to prune them back because they're still quite short, the new growth. But I can take leaves off of those vigorous shoots so they get less sunlight going or less energy generated into that branch. And that'll weaken that branch a little bit compared to the others. So, you know, rather than pruning off like we did on the last tree, on this tree I'll just be removing some of the foliage to make that branch a little less vigorous. Here's a look at the canopy on the tree. And you can see how dense it's getting. It's also looking really healthy, the foliage. The leaves are all good shapes. They're not crumpled up or deformed. So the tree is really looking good. I'm going to start the work today by thinning the canopy. I'm going to remove any leaves that are facing in towards the center of the tree, just keeping the ones that are fanning outwards. And that should reduce the leaf area by about 1/3, I think. So I'll start that now. So here's a look at the tree, and you can see how dense it is. There's leaves growing upon leaves, growing upon leaves. So you can't even, you know, see in here. It's so dense. So I'm going to find branches. Here's a branch here that's growing towards the inside of the tree. So I can take that whole new shoot off the tree. Just like that. So that's, you know, more in the category of shoot selection. And then I'm looking for leaves that are facing inwards also. So there's one here I can remove. Like that. There's another one here I can remove. Like that. There's a large one here I can remove. Like that. There's one growing in towards the center of the tree here. I can remove that one. And this will clear up the canopy so there's a little more light and air flowing in here. So here's a really vigorous shoot here. I'm going to reduce the amount of leaves coming off of that shoot. So I'll take the largest ones off. There. One here, and I'll take the new growing tip off too. And this one. So that reduces the vigor on that tip, so it'll kind of tend to grow out more evenly with the others. I think I'm going to keep it a little more vigorous on the side so I grow the width of the canopy more. Keep the top pruned down in height. So I'm taking a lot of these new shoots off the top. Just the leaves, not the actual pruning of the shoots. So just take a bit of vigor out of those branches. Tidies the canopy up so it looks a little neater. And I'm also hoping to get more light to the interior of the tree. That way you might get more backbudding and more branching happening. People often ask me if I had one bonsai tree to grow, one species, what would I pick? And it would probably be the Schefflera, the dwarf Schefflera. They get aerial roots. They grow well in low light. They grow even better in higher light. But yeah, they're a really nice tree, and I like the leaf shape. They look very tropical. Yeah, everything you want in a bonsai tree. Yeah, so that's probably my favorite species of tree for a bonsai, I think. I just think they have a lot going for them. As far as a tropical tree anyway. You know, for hardy trees, I would probably pick the larch. The larch is beautiful, change of seasons. Spring you get those little tiny needles, and yeah, it's hard to beat that. It's just, I'm slowly getting there. I've got a lot of the new shoots kind of pruned back, and now I've got to do more thinning. It's still super dense in here. Like, I can't even see the branches. It's so dense up top. So I'm looking above now, and I'm pruning off leaves, some of the older mature leaves, to get more light in here. I've noticed that a lot of these new leaves coming in, they're kind of curling because they've got no room to grow. They're growing in amongst all these other leaves, so I'm just trying to thin these areas out. So now that branch is kind of a balance between new leaves and old leaves, a better balance. The branches up top here get lots of light, so they can be, you know, pruned back a little more heavily, taking some of the older leaves off, or more of the older leaves off, getting more light in here. I'm thinning the canopy, so when I'm looking down at the top of the tree, I can see kind of my growing tips. So it's not so dense, you can't see what's going on. You can actually see a bit of the branch structure, and yeah, there's a little more space between the branches. And it's just something you just do with your eye. You kind of keep thinning until it looks right to you. I finished thinning the upper canopy, so let's have a look at it. So I think you can see a lot more of the structure now. It doesn't look like a giant mass of foliage on top now. You can actually see individual branches. So that'll let a lot more light in there and hopefully start more back budding, increasing the density of the canopy. The more growing tips you have on these trees, the smaller the leaves get. So you want to encourage ramification. But it's looking really good, I think. There's a look at the cutting room floor. So a fair amount of leaves taken off. It really thinned out the canopy. And I think that'll really help it grow in the future. Now that I've got the canopy thinned out, it'll be a lot easier to water and mist the tree. I can get in and see what's going on rather than just kind of watering from the perimeter. So I'll do that now. I'll give it a good watering and misting. All right, here I go with the water. The tree was quite dry in some spots. You can see the water pooling here. It hasn't soaked in yet. Okay. I'll give it a nice misting too. Getting underneath all the leaves and misting upwards. Get all the branches soaked. And that'll help encourage the formation of aerial roots. Keeping it nice and humid. But you don't want the soil wet all the time. They're kind of like a ficus. You want to let the soil dry out a bit before watering it thoroughly again. They don't like sitting in wet soil, or it'll rot the roots. Boy, that's looking like a real rainforest. I've even got my anaconda in there. I can't tell you how nice it is in the plant room here on this sunny day with the smell of the lemon blossoms in the air. It's It's just beautiful. So on to the next tree now. The next tree I'll be working on today is my Ficus microcarpa, the one that's grown from a cutting. And I almost lost the entire tree from the cold, but now it's starting to sprout out all over with new foliage. So I'm going to prune it back today. I don't want leaves coming out on top of the tree where I won't be using them. I want all the growth to come down low, so I'm going to prune the tree back. Here's a shot of the lower part of the tree, and you can see the shoots coming out, fairly down low in the tree. So I'm going to cut it back, keeping those new shoots. All right, here I go. So I'm going to start with this branch, and there's nothing coming out until way up here. So I don't want growth coming out way up there, so I'm going to prune it back. Bit of a hard prune, and we'll see what happens. Hopefully the branch won't die off, but you never know. Yeah, so I think I'll try just pruning it off here. Like that. And I'll see what happens. There's a branch out back that looks to be dead. However, there's a new shoot coming out down low. So I'm just going to prune it off for now. And then later on, I can clean that up if that branch is dead, which I think it is. So, but I'll leave it on for now. I'm coming up the trunk line. There's shoots coming out here, up here. So I don't think I want the tree any higher than about here. So I'm going to prune it off right here. Like that. There's a shoot coming up the side here. I don't see any signs of life on it. I don't see any signs of life on this front part. I'm just going to prune it back short for now. We'll see if anything happens in that area. If it doesn't, this back one's alive, so I'll grow something out for the leader or the, part of the canopy. I've got a strong shoot coming up here, and there's all kinds of new growth coming out on it. Nothing down low, so I'm going to have to prune it back. There's a shoot way down low, but nothing out in this area, so I'm going to try a hard prune to here. Like that. I'll just prune these dead branches back here and here. I'll just leave them on for now. That one's falling off. So is this one. So I'll see what happens there. And I'm quite sure that's dead there. This one is, I know. But we'll see. So that brings us to this branch here. And I left that branch on, and I don't know if I want it on. I don't know if I want, the main trunk coming and then a branch off. I already have that on my Ficus cutting of a cutting. That kind of a style. So I'm thinking I want all the vigor coming up to the main trunk. So I'm going to remove that branch. All right, here I go. I'll come in with the branch pruners. And off it comes. Nice cut. There's a look at that cut. That should heal really nicely. I'm going to clean away all the dead leaves, clean the tree up. And I may remove the moss here just to see what the surface roots are looking like. I'll give the tree a good watering, and then I can clear away some of that moss. It's getting quite thick on there. I'll water the bottom here also. There's a person to show the scale of the planting, and now I'll start removing the moss. Not all of it, just around the base of the tree. So this tree was started from a cutting off of my very first bonsai tree, my large Ficus microcarpa. So this moss was down in the basement, and it was quite cool, and then I brought it up to the plant room, and it's green, but it's having a little difficulty adapting to the warm plant room up here. It kind of the top of it died off, but now I see it starting to green up again, so I will have to scissor prune it back. It's getting quite fluffy, the moss here. So. You can start to see some of the surface roots as I'm slowly exposing them. So I'll get out the spray bottle and a toothbrush and we'll just kind of brush away the base of the tree. There are a few surface roots that are a little high here. They've grown up through the moss. So I'm going to remove this one. It's just too high. It doesn't flow down into the soil very well. So I'll remove that. Like that. I'll remove this one on the inside also. It's just a little too high out of the soil. So that comes out too. I'll continue brushing, exposing those surface roots just a little more. It's kind of nice to be able to see them, and it's important on a ficus to have good surface roots. Just taking some of the soil off here. Okay, I think I'll just clean the tree up now, and we'll come back and have a look at it. I've got the tree all cleaned up now. Let's go in and have a look. There's a look at the root base. So there's a good set of radial surface roots. I think it just needs balancing in the future to kind of get them to grow out a little more evenly. There's some really thick ones, but there's a lot of good fine ones that can be developed into the future. So yeah, I think it'll come along in the next few years. There'll be plenty more updates coming in the next few videos. But that's all for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.